You are scrolling before bed. A stranger's face fills the screen, smiling, holding up a phone. I put in $200 a month, they say. Now I'm a millionaire. Your thumb stops moving. Something in your chest tightens, just slightly, before your brain even finishes reading the caption. You do the math in your head, fast and hopeful. Could you do that too? Should you have started years ago? But the real reason that video worked on you has almost nothing to do with math at all. Welcome back to World Street Watch. Today's video is about the $200 a month millionaire videos spreading everywhere right now, and what's actually happening in your brain in the 6 seconds before you decide to believe one. If you like understanding the psychology behind your own money decisions, stick around and consider subscribing. It's how this channel keeps making videos like this one. You're not the only one this happens to either. Every week, versions of this exact same video circulate with a different face attached, a different number sometimes swapped in, the same tightening in the chest waiting on the other side of the screen for whoever scrolls past next. Here's the part that surprises people. The compounding math in those videos is often genuinely real. Put a fixed amount of money into an investment consistently, let enough years pass, and the number on the screen can get very large. Nobody needs to lie about that part. Compounding is one of the most well-documented forces in personal finance, taught in classrooms long before anyone had a phone to film themselves on. So if the math checks out, why does the video still feel like a trap the moment you look away from it? Why does something that's mathematically true still manage to feel like it's selling you something? The answer isn't sitting in the spreadsheet. It's sitting in the room the video quietly puts you in, without you ever noticing you walked into it. In the 1950s, a psychologist named Solomon Asch ran an experiment that had nothing to do with money at all. He put a real participant in a room with several other people and showed them a card with one line on it, then a second card with 3 lines of clearly different lengths. The task was almost embarrassingly simple. Which of the 3 lines matches the first one? Anyone with working eyes could answer correctly, alone, in under a second. But the other people in the room weren't real participants. They were actors, instructed in advance to confidently call out the wrong answer, one after another. Here's the strange part. About a third of the time, the real participant caved. They gave the wrong answer too, out loud in front of everyone, even though their own eyes were telling them something different. Not because their vision had suddenly failed, because disagreeing with a room full of confident people felt worse, in that exact moment, than simply being wrong. Why would a grown adult's brain treat social disagreement as more dangerous than an obvious factual error? Because for most of human history, being wrong about a line on a card cost you nothing. Being cast out of the group, on the other hand, could cost you everything. Your brain isn't broken when it flinches at disagreement. It's running code that kept your ancestors alive long before any of them owned a bank account, a stock, or a phone. Hold on to that feeling for a second. In a moment, you'll watch it play out at full scale. In a financial mania that already happened once before, wearing a completely different costume. Now scale that small room up to a size Asch never could have tested in a lab. Instead of 5 strangers around a folding table, imagine millions of people watching the same video, scrolling the same comment section, reading the same string of strangers saying, "I did this, and it worked for me." An economist named Robert Shiller has spent much of his career studying exactly this pattern, and he calls it narrative economics. The observation that financial decisions rarely spread through spreadsheets or prospectuses read line by line. They spread the way jokes spread or rumors spread, mouth to mouth, screen to screen, mutating slightly with each retelling, picking up a confidence along the way that the original story never actually earned. Nobody fact-checks a rumor before repeating it at a dinner table. You don't have to verify a financial story for it to convince you either. You just have to hear it enough times, from enough different faces, until it stops sounding like a claim and starts sounding like something everyone already knows. This has happened before. Different decade, different props, same room full of confident strangers agreeing loudly with each other. There was a season when one particular doll was the only acceptable gift a parent could bring home, and people genuinely fought over it in toy store aisles. There was a season when a stuffed animal in a plastic bag was treated like a small retirement plan, changing hands for sums that sound absurd now, before quietly becoming worthless again once the room went quiet. There was a season when a company only needed a clever name and a website to be valued like a fortune on paper, with no working product required. Even centuries earlier, there was a season when a single flower bulb could reportedly trade for the price of a house, in a market so swept up in its own certainty that almost nobody stopped to ask what the bulb would actually be worth once the excitement passed. Each time, the actual object mattered far less than the certainty in other people's voices. Each time, the people who got in early made the loudest, most confident videos, letters, or trading floor announcements. And the people who got in last were simply the ones who heard them, standing in a room that had already made up its mind before they walked in. Here's what makes the $200 a month version different, and honestly, more effective than any doll or .com stock ever managed to be. It doesn't ask you to believe in a rare toy or a company with no revenue. It asks you to believe in a compounding formula that happens to be true. That's exactly what makes it so disarming. Because the math is real, your guard quietly comes down. You stop asking the questions you'd normally ask about a stranger's confident financial claim. But pause and notice where the certainty in that video is actually coming from. It isn't coming from the formula. A formula doesn't have a tone of voice, and it definitely doesn't smile at you at 11 at night holding a phone. The certainty is coming from the room. The comment section full of people agreeing with each other, each one doing exactly what Ash's participants did in that small, quiet lab decades ago. Except now there's no experimenter waiting at the end to step in, reveal the trick, and explain what just happened to your judgment before sending you home. There's also a second layer working in the background, one the video's creator may not even be doing on purpose. The platform itself rewards the most confident version of any claim, because confident claims hold your attention longer than cautious ones. A video that says, "This might work depending on your situation," gets scrolled past in half a second. A video that says, "This made me a millionaire," makes your thumb stop moving. So the videos that survive long enough to reach you have already been filtered for certainty, stripped of nuance, sharpened into something closer to a chant than a plan. You're not just standing in a room full of confident strangers. You're standing in a room where only the loudest, most certain voices were ever allowed to stay. And where the quiet, careful, "it depends on your situation" voice was filtered out long before it ever reached your feed. That's not a conspiracy. Nobody sat in an office and decided to remove nuance from your finances on purpose. It's simply what happens when attention becomes the thing being optimized for, instead of accuracy. Certainty is easier to watch than nuance, so certainty is what survives the trip to your screen. This isn't only about investing challenges either. The same room-shaped pressure sits underneath most of the money decisions you second-guess yourself on. The upgrade you bought because 3 friends already had one. The savings plan you abandoned because nobody in your group chat talked about saving, only spending. Lifestyle, spending pace, even what counts as normal for your income. A surprising amount of it gets set not by your own careful math, but by the confident room you happen to be standing in. The $200 a month video is just a particularly sharp, particularly viral version of a pressure that's been quietly steering your money for years. Before you decide anything based on a video like that, try asking yourself 3 quiet questions instead of 1 loud feeling. Would this still sound convincing to you if the comment section were empty? Would you still want to do it if nobody online ever found out either way? And if a stranger told you this in person, with no camera, no smile, no room full of strangers agreeing behind them, would you still believe it as quickly as you just did? Those 3 questions won't tell you whether $200 a month is right for your life. Only your own numbers can do that. But they will tell you whether it's the math convincing you or the room. Most people never stop to separate the two. That's the whole reason these videos keep working, year after year, format after format, long after the doll and the stuffed animal and the website with no working product have all been quietly forgotten. So the next time one of those videos crosses your feed, notice what your body does before your brain does anything at all. Notice the tightening in your chest that arrives before you've even finished reading the caption. That feeling isn't information about whether the plan is actually good for you. It's social pressure, wearing a calculator's costume. The real decision in front of you, whether to invest, how much, and in what, is still yours to make slowly with your own numbers, on your own timeline, based on your own life. It has nothing to do with a stranger's smile at 11 at night, and it never did. $200 a month might turn out to be a perfectly reasonable plan for you specifically, but it should feel reasonable because you sat down and checked the math yourself against your own situation, not because a comment section full of strangers had already agreed on it before you ever arrived. So the next time a stranger's face fills your screen, smiling, holding up a phone, your thumb doesn't have to stop moving. You already know exactly what room that video is quietly putting you in, and you know it was built to feel unanimous long before you showed up. If this changed how you'll watch the next one, stick around, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.